while limited, but there are provisions that speaks to local content indirectly. It is not a instrument that has been, today it has been part and parcel of the law since 1991. However, we believe that the provision needs to be amplified, it needs to be strengthened, hence the need for us to come up with a policy, basically to ensure that the areas that we want to see strengthening most is basically being provided for in the policy, which is the provision of workforce development, which is labor, goods and services, and to a certain extent as well as participation in terms of ownership as well as financing. So this is what the policy entails to achieve. And once that is passed as an official document, this policy will then be further translated into legislation, that is now into the Act, and then regulations will then be drafted in order to give more, finer details on what we want to see. So the policy in itself is just a broader based format for Namibians, for government, the oil industry to understand what the intent and the purpose is that we want to achieve. And then the law will make it kind of basically more of an enforcement type of a document, an instrument. We would, through this process, want to have, the cooperation of the oil companies as well as all other players, stakeholders within the oil and gas sector, directly affected and indirectly affected, to see to it that this policy becomes a meaningful instrument so that when it's translated into a law, it is a kind of a mirror of the aspirations that we want to achieve. And so far we have received a lot of good reviews from our engagements that we had earlier this year. The policy was launched, the draft was launched, and we received a lot of good feedback from a number of stakeholders. And the policy is still under consideration. We are planning to go into the regions because that is a requirement before the policy is adopted, to have a broad-based consultation with, the people at the grassroots level, because this policy or this industry, this sector is also going to affect and impact, the people on the street. So that is one way of us trying to manage expectations and go out there and tell the people that this is what the oil and gas sector is trying to achieve. A lot of people do not understand and appreciate the sector. So this policy would be, and the efforts of us going out there in the region would be an educative process, but it's also an opportunity to hear and solicit, feedback from, the most important people, which is the citizens of this country. We would want to see the oil companies upon application, and once the license is issued, you should basically prepare a plan, a local content policy plan, which is basically submitted as part of our scrutiny process. We want to see how best you would add value to the country in those respective three areas: labor force development, goods and services, and that will be part of your social license to operate. And it goes as well to the production stage once you want to apply for a production license as well. And added to that as another layer that obliges the operators that at TCMs, which is a biannual a meeting, technical meeting, where we sit as government as representatives of the rights to these particular resources with the oil companies and their partners, and then they account to us on the work program and the progress that they have basically carried out throughout the 6 months interval process. And during that, we would also want to see your progress as an IOC, as an investor. What progress have you done in order to implement and to see to it that local content policy is being, adhered to? Further to that, another layer is that in the Act, and just to help also understand, we already have an amendment bill already. We are not going to wait 6 years. We have an amended regulations already. So once the policy is approved, we are going to run with that bill. And we are going to run with the regulations. So we are not going to wait until the policy is accepted and then wait another, as a normal process, 2, 3, 4, 5 years for the bill to come into effect. We have done that homework already. So what the Act envisage, or the bill as it is, there will be a compliance or non-compliance provision in that bill that will eventually become an Act. Meaning that if an IOC does not comply to whatever is, they're obligated to, the minister will be able to issue a non-compliance notice. And this will also be then gazetted, and the world will see this IOC is not being a responsible corporate citizen. That is another layer of protection that we want to guarantee.